Hey guys, make sure that you've already done the review and you're looking at the review as you go through this. I'm not going to write down all the problems or all the questions, so make sure you have you're pausing and reading the question before you see me go through it. First problem is on the 3B exam. It says number 3 about Sally running a lemonade stand. The first thing it says, which represents the relationship. So we know it's a function. It gives you t as the x and p of t, which this is telling you that the profit is a function of the temperature. So, which would make sense because the hotter it is, the more lemonade you're going to sell. So all you have to do to make an equation is take two of the points. So they give you that when it's 85 degrees, it's $20 in profit. And I'm going to go there's 3 of them, but you really only need to take 2. So now that I have my 2 points and I know it forms a linear equation, I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. First time, I'm going to find the slope. So now I'm going to do y minus y over x minus x, and I get 16 over 10, which simplifies to 1 6/10. Or you could have left it as 16 over 10 if you wanted. So now I have y equals 1 6/10 x plus b. So since I have a point right here, I'm going to plug in the information I know. 20 equals 1 6/10 times 85 plus b. And then I'm going to multiply 1.6 times 85 and get 136 plus b is equal to 20. And then I'm going to subtract 136 on both sides. B is equal to negative 116. So my final answer is going to be B, which is the equation that uses this slope and this y-intercept. Number 4. Remember that this one's a pretty easy one because we know that this right here is the form for point-slope form. So all you're going to do is plug in the point you know and the slope. And that answer choice, the only thing that's a little bit tricky is when you have y minus a negative 5, you get y plus 5, which equals the slope of 7 times x minus 3. And this is choice letter F. Number 5, which of these functions represents the relationship between time and water level? And they give me a graph. So I'm just going to look at the y-intercept. You could see that where the graph hits this point right here, the water was 8 feet. And then it looks like the water level is going down. But I know that it started at 8. So the y-intercept is 8. And if I follow the line, I notice that one of my points, it goes from 0, 8, and then I see another point is at 3, 6. So I'm noticing that the water level is going down 3 and then to the right 2. And that would be, if you go down, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. Your y's, if you follow line, the rise is actually going down 2, but the run is going over 3, which is a negative 2/3 slope. So I'm going to plug both of those in my equation, and I get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 8. And again, I just used the rise over the run from the graph. And then that is answer choice C. Alright, so next tells you that the inline line service charges a flat fee and then charges a certain fee per hour. Well, it says which is the flat fee. So if I think about if I can make it into an equation, the slope is going to be the rate of change, how much per hour, and the B is going to be what they add to the cost. So that's going to be the flat fee. So if I take the 2 points, and find the equation by doing
Manny Lee, can you please come to the main office immediately? Manny Lee.
So the slope is 4. So now that I know the slope, now what I'm going to do is plug in a point I know, which is 44.6. Make that a capital B so I remember that's a B. And solve this side. So now I know my equation, which would be y equals 4x plus 20. And now I know that the flat fee this online service charges is $20. And how much will she pay if this uses the service 25 hours? I'm going to still use my equation, but now it's 4 times the hours is 25 plus 20, which is $120. Number 8, it gives me an equation. What is the meaning of the number 120 in the context of this problem? So if it's saying that this is the T is the total cost of college and C is the number of credits, that would mean that the 120 would be the cost per credit. The 150 would be like the flat fee. Maybe it's for books. There's a lot of different answers you can say, but it's the one-time fee. And the last thing it says, if you can afford to pay $1,590, that's the Y, or the tuition, what could your X be? Well, you're just going to solve this problem. And then last, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 120 and 1,440 divided by 120 is 12. So that you could take at most 12 credits and it would cost exactly $1,590. Alright, so number 8, I'm not going to I'm going to do at the on another video. You'll see a part 2, just number 8. But this is just like what you did in class. There's one big thing that a lot of students got wrong, and you can use your calculator for this one. But if you notice in the first bullet point, it says this: let X represent the years since 1990. So if you put, even though the table says 1990, you should not put a 1990 in for X. That's 0 years since 1990. And instead of 1991, which they use, it's telling you to use a 1. So if you plug this data in, if you don't put a 0 and a 1 in for X, like it says to do, you're going to get that problem incorrect. Number 9, I'm again not going to do this one for a just because of time, and it's very much like the other one. Just going to kind of explain. When it says at what rate is the copier losing value, you want to take these 2 points and put it into slope-intercept form. Whatever the slope is, that's going to be the rate the copier is losing value. The equation is going to be when we have the M and the B in there, and it says determine the value when it was purchased. Well, whatever you get for B, that's when the years were 0. So that's when it was first purchased. And the last thing is, when will the copier have a value of 0? So you're going to take your equation, but now you want to know when will it equal 0. And remember, you're going to have an M and you're going to have a B at that point. But this is when the value is going to be 0. Alright, so the last page says write an equation of a line in point-slope form if M equals 2, and it passes through -3, 4. So remember, it's y minus 1, 1 equals M, and this is literally just point-slope form. So we're just going to just plug in our data. M is 2, so 2, x minus a -3. Well, that would become x plus 3, which equals y minus 4. And this right here is your final answer for that first bullet point. Then it says write this equation in slope-intercept form. So even though this right here is your answer to point-slope form, if we distribute the 2, and then move the -4 over, now you get your equation in slope-intercept form. And now it's a lot easier to graph. It's easier to know what the y-intercept is. Last problem. It says write an equation of a line that passes through 3, 2 that is parallel to this line. So the first thing we have to do is in order to know when lines are parallel, we need the slopes to be the same. So I don't know what the slope is because this is not in slope-intercept form. I want to solve this for y. Because if I solve this for y, then I'm gonna know what the slope is. I'm gonna know what the y-intercept is. So I'm gonna multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of the 2, divided by 2. So I end up with y equals 4x minus 8. Well, right here we put this in slope-intercept form so we can get this number. The number in front of the x, when it's in slope-intercept form, is 4. So now all we need to know is when we make a line parallel to this line, we need the slope of our new line to also be 4. But we want this line to pass through. We need one of the x, y's that work to be 3, 2. So we're going to use that information to find out what the y-intercept has to be. So I'm going to put in the 2 for y, the slope, which we know has to be the same, the 3 for x, and the plus b. And then I'm going to get 12 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 12 on both sides, and b equals negative 10. So now we have an equation, and we know that this equation, 4x minus 10, will not only be parallel to this line, but it will also make sure it goes through this point. And I hope that helps.